to score all the points on a short answer question or an SAQ, you really only need to do two things. Understand what they're asking you to write about and write it using a three-part formula. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Except for a lot of students in AP World, AP Euro, and APUSH, the SAQ is emphatically not easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's more like, why is this seemingly simple thing causing my armpits to sweat and my bowels to squeal and causing no small amount of existential dread and the questioning of all my life choices? Lemon squeeze. But look, it doesn't have to be that hard. You just need someone to explain it up real nice for you, and hey, that's what I'm here for. So if you're ready to get them brain cows milked, well, let's get to it. Oh, and make sure you stay to the end because I need to tell you how my previous advice for SAQs has completely changed because of what happened at this year's scoring at the national exam. First, let's just swoop in and figure out what we're dealing with here. A short answer question for APUSH, AP World, or AP Euro, and by the way, they're all scored the same, so everything I'm about to say here applies to them all. A short answer question can be classified into two species. The first has a stimulus, which will be a document to read or an image to interpret. And that will be followed by 3 prompts labeled A, B, C. Now the second species has no stimulus and only 3 prompts. For each prompt you either earn 1 point or 0 points and there's nothing in between. And every once in a while they'll sneak in a prompt worth 2 points, but that's only when they're asking you to do 2 things. Now on your AP exam in May, they're gonna give you 4 of these SAQs and you have to answer 3 of them. And your answers do not need to be essays, they just need to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 complete sentences, and I'll tell you exactly what I recommend in a moment. All right, first step, understand the stimulus and the prompt. So the first thing you need to do to answer an SAQ is to understand the stimulus and the prompts. And I would highly recommend that you mark up these prompts because, say it with me, when you're under pressure, you are dumber than you think. Now, where should you begin? Well, where you're gonna be tempted to begin is by reading or looking at the stimulus. And if that's your temptation, I want you to open your hand, wet it down, and smack yourself in the face. That is not where you start. You start by reading the prompts they give you, and here's why. You've only got limited time to write your answers, and if you start by trying to analyze the stimulus, you're wasting time because you don't even know what you're looking for. So start by reading the 3 prompts, marking them up, and then you can move to the stimulus after you know what to look for in it. Now, what should you be marking in those prompts? Well, 3 things. Number 1, the category or categories they're asking you to write about. Number 2, the time period they want you to write about. And number 3, the historical thinking skill that needs to frame your answer. So for example, here's the first SAQ from the 2022 AP World exam. First, mark the category. They want you to talk about an economic development here and a political development here. That's really important because if your answer doesn't fall in those categories, then no points for you. Second, you mark the time period. If your answer doesn't fall within those years, no matter how brilliant the answer is, no points for you. And third, mark the historical thinking skill. And in this case, you can see here led to, and that's a causation question. That means whatever evidence you use in your short answer question has got to show causation. Okay, so now that you understand the prompts, you can move to the stimulus if it has one. So look at it and mark it up with what you need to answer the prompts, and now let's move on to how to answer them. Now everyone has their favorite acronym for answering SAQs, but for my money, the best one is TEAT. Topic sentence, explanation of evidence, and analysis. And let me explain each. Your topic sentence is a single declarative sentence that essentially restates the important parts of the prompt and names a piece of evidence. And that's important not because it earns you a point, but because it ensures that you stay on topic, which does earn you the point. So consider this prompt from the 2022 AP Euro exam. Describe one significant cultural or intellectual change during the Renaissance. And my topic sentence would go like this. One significant intellectual change during the Renaissance was the emphasis on humanism. So look, I restated the important parts of the prompt to keep me on task, and I named the evidence that shows the change. The second part then is to explain my evidence, and really that just means to define it. So mine would go something like this. Humanism described the Renaissance belief in the unlimited potential of human beings as ends in themselves. Now, if you did those 2 things, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself, but you need to go one step further and then analyze that evidence. And that means you need to show how your evidence proves your topic sentence. Now look carefully, I'm talking about an intellectual change during the Renaissance, and I've said that it's humanism, and then I've defined it. So I've named the change, but I haven't shown how the change occurred, and that is essential. So my third sentence will go like this. Prior to the Renaissance, the prevailing view of human potential was limited by the widespread belief of the doctrine of original sin. But because of the innovative work of Petrarch and other humanists, a new confidence in human potential began to emerge during the Renaissance. And those 3 sentences will get you a point. And you may be objecting right now saying, that's way too much to talk about, Heimler. Like, can it be any simpler than that? And if you would ask me a year ago, I would have said, yes, it can be simpler. But today, my answer is no, and let me explain. You may have noticed that you have basically 3 task verbs consistently showing up. You have identify, describe, and explain. And what I've always taught is that for an identify prompt, all you had to do was write a topic sentence, and that's it. So for this prompt, I would have told you to write one economic development that led to the situation on the map was the forced free trade agreements between Britain and China following the Opium Wars. You just identified the economic development, done. But I am no longer advising that, and here's why. Now, even though the College Board themselves told us what identify means in their own course and exam description, and that answer that I just gave meets that bar, at the National Reading reading for AP World this year, the people who scored these did not give the point unless you also explained the evidence, and that is madness. Now, as far as I know, that only happened at the AP World reading, but if it can happen there, it might happen in the other subjects as well. So my advice is to T every answer. That way you'll never be tricked by the AP overlords who don't even abide by their own standards. All right, well, if you need more help with AP history writing, then click right here and grab my AP Essay Cram course. And I've got way more writing videos right here that are gonna help you with all the other essays as well. So I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Heimler out.